Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Around the Table GTA. This one's a little bit random, but it kind of ties into my life. I'm a person who Ubers a lot. I usually Uber about 5 times a week um, because I don't drive. I do know how to drive, but there's a bigger story or tale behind that. Basically, I could pretty much drive anytime, but I just have like test anxiety, mainly because like back when I was 16, I got into a pretty crazy accident, and the fact that we're alive, or me and the person who was driving were alive, is big, right? So it's a little bit of trauma, but also I live in a city where when you take the test, it's a 70% fail rate, right? So I failed twice, right? You got to keep trying though, right? Or I'm just going to drive in another city. But if I would have to drive, I could definitely drive. I'm confident enough in driving. It's just test anxiety. And if you know where I live, or if you heard about the city, there's always accidents. People drive like maniacs. The insurance rate is the highest, or it's one of the highest in the country. And a lot of people don't feel safe driving here. So it's a lot of compound stuff. And even my past self, I kind of avoided situations by not being able to drive or legally drive. So I put myself out of getting into certain situations. And yeah, that's mainly why I don't drive. Do I have any plans on driving anytime soon? Yes. I'm a type of person that does enjoy rides, just going to random places, right? But from the time that I've been not driving, I've been just saving that extra money so that when I do choose to drive, or when I finally pass my driver's license test, I could get a car that's really decent, or I could even get a brand new car if I wanted to. I don't have to lease. So it's something that I've kind of put on the back burner for a while, just so that when I do drive, I could already be at a higher standard. So sometimes waiting for stuff, delaying gratification will help you in the long run. Unfortunately, this doesn't help with insurance and all of that stuff, but that doesn't really matter. So we're going to get into it. I'm going to call this Uber Chronicles because I have a lot of Uber stories, but I'm going to be talking about the most interesting ones at the moment. So the last couple of drivers, there's one I always talk about. So I'll start with that one. I had a driver, and I actually had him twice, and he used to be a drug addict. He was a crackhead, right? And he was just telling me about his story, and we knew a mutual person, right? Because he was describing a person. I'm like, oh, you mean this guy? I'm not gonna drop any names. And he's like, yeah, he saved my life, and this and this and that, right? And it's kind of crazy where you can connect with someone through even bad experiences, or an experience through another person, right? So this person that I know who is now a crackhead was always a good person, right? Do I know how their life got led into crack? No. But unfortunately, it did. But fortunately, he was a good enough person still, even in that state, to save another person's life, right? And it's crazy how many people deal with different scenarios, right? And with this guy, he was talking about how, just how you become super dependent on it, and nothing can make you quit. I talked about this in other episodes where he was just saying that it's all up to you, right? And it's crazy to think about that because I don't know the level of addiction of all drugs, right? I'm not a drug expert, but from what I've heard about crack is that the people who do it say that it's the best feeling ever, and if they don't have that feeling, everything feels like nothing, right? So you hear crackhead stories, and what crackheads will do for crack, and it's crazy. I wonder, I wonder if this is gonna be like shadow banned because I keep saying crack so much. But either way, you know, it just shows you how persistent it is, and it's kind of weird and it's motivating at the same time. If you look at it in like my strange lens, where I think you guys have heard of crackhead energy, right? But having crackhead energy upon something or towards something where it's just like, you know, I gotta get it, 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 right? It's mad, but he was talking about like being a year clean and even like kind of being scared of coming to the area I reside in at the moment because there was a time where there was a guy who was a dealer, and that's how he got into the whole mess in the first place. But he was kind of surprised that a person like me was living here, but you know, I'm only here temporarily. Either way, yeah, it kind of changed my mindset on a lot of stuff, right? I'm not very judgmental on people who do drugs or have addictions or whatever, but it kind of showed me the dynamic of how hard it is to kick certain habits, right? And, you know, it could be food, it could be porn, it could be wasting time, procrastination, all of that. But when there's like, or even like smoking, but when there's something that constantly fuels it, it's strange, right? And when you, just to like flip it, when you have a goal or dreams, you know, you want to have that same type of energy where you want to go after it, right? It's just like when you're binge watching a TV show. Right now, I'm binging podcast episodes, right? My latest episode was so low energy that I think, well, if you guys hear this, here's a surprise. I'm doing 2 episodes one day, right? But, you know, it gave me that motivation to just do another one. I'm going to do another one. Maybe I'll do a third one and drop 3 today. Who knows, right? Just crackhead energy on a podcast, right? But it goes to show, because he was telling me, like, he destroyed, like, almost all of his relationships just to do more crack. And it wasn't till he chose to do so, like, to stop, that it changed, right? You know, he ruined his relationship with his mom, his baby mom, like his child, and enough was enough. All the counseling didn't help, the jail didn't help, rehab didn't help. It was just his mind being like, you know what, I have to stop doing this. And he's a year sober, right? I've had him twice. I don't know what he's up to now, but, you know, hopefully I run into him. Maybe I could have him as a guest in the future, right? That'd be super cool, right? So that's the first driver. And yeah, recently I had a guy from Iraq, and it was very crazy because he's like, you know, God bless you and this and this and that, right? And I learned a lot in that, right? He's like super Christian, and he was talking about God and, you know, the first church, and, you know, how God changes lives and everything. And when you think about the Middle East, you don't really think about Christians. You think about like Muslims or like Jews, right? So it was kind of polarizing at first, but, you know, he was like basically preaching the whole time about, like, you know, how God changes lives and trust God, and how prevalent Christians are in the Middle East, whether you know, they're getting attacked by one group or another, and all the discourse that's happening in the Middle East. And it was kind of interesting, and it shows that, you know, when you have a deep belief in something, you could kind of overcome everything, right? So whether it's your belief in God, yourself, or whatever you believe in, when you start to believe, when you have that focus, when you think things can change for yourself, right? That's when that change will happen, right? So whether you're trusting God, whether you're trusting your decision, whatever goal that you have in mind, whether you're believing that's going to work, right? everything starts with your mindset, and it starts with you, right? So you need to believe in yourself, whether you have supporters, whether you have haters, whatever. It's on you to get that dream started, and whatever forces that are out there will help or not help, right? But either way, you got to stay focused. The hustle still continues, and the hustle starts with you. All right, and last but not least, I was coming from work, and I have a pretty high rating in Uber because I'm me, right? But every once in a while, I get an Uber driver with like a super nice car, and it's not me getting like the premium Ubers. It's just me getting an Uber to go to work or go home if I'm too lazy, right? And I got a Uber driver with a Tesla, right? And well, yeah, it's a Tesla, whatever. But he had the suicide doors, so I don't know what the actual term for suicide doors are, but it's those doors that go up, right, when they open, right? So I was just kind of like, wow, I'm driving in this, right? So I was shooting this shit with the Uber driver, and I was like, why did you get a Tesla? And he was just talking about, how cool it was, and it makes him feel better about himself. And it's not that he had a low self-esteem, but I was having a conversation with someone where, how you present yourself changes everything, right? So you can be a bum. Like a lot of people fall for this, like whether you're dating, whether it's girls or guys, you'll see like a girl who's super dolled up, right? Because she's presenting herself in a way, right? But she's toxic. She's super toxic, right? Or you see a dude and he's really well dressed and he has a nice car, but you don't know it's leased, but he's a bum, right? So it's all about how you present yourself. So, presenting yourself, just how you feel about yourself and how you present yourself changes the dynamic and the people you surround yourself with. So I was talking with him, and we were talking about what's going on in the world and lockdowns and everything. And I'm like, you have a Tesla in the middle of all this, what do you do other than Uber, right? And he told me he was a barber, right? And there's nothing wrong with being a barber, right? Some barbers make a lot of money, but he told me that, like, because of what's happening, he hasn't been getting any cuts, right? So he's just been driving. He's not even an underground barber, right? Because like I know bare underground barbers, and they're making cuts. They're like, let's say they were charging $20 an hour or $20 a cut before tip. Now it's like $40 or $50 plus tip, right? So to me, this guy's been sleeping, but realistically, he was just talking about, he's not trying to get sick. He's not trying anything other than the driving so he could drive around and, kind of get out, right? And he was just telling me about his work ethic where, like he said he was Lebanese, right? So he had an accent, right? So, I asked him like where he's from and everything, and he was talking about like his beginnings when he got over here, and originally he just stayed within his community, and that's what a lot of immigrants do. They stay within their community. And he was telling me the problem with that is that he wasn't learning any English, right? He was here for a year. He didn't speak a spick of English because he didn't converse with anyone, right? And his knowledge was very minimal, right? So, like for me, I talk with some people at work all the time, and we talk about a lot of polarizing things, whether it's like race or politics or whatever, right? And I'm a big person on where you kind of have to have an open mind, whether you think something is bad or good, right? It's how you come across it and how you interact with it, or how you even deal with it, right? So he was saying that, he was getting nowhere just staying around his people, and, this kind of sounds harsh, right? But once he kind of branched off and talked with other people, he learned more, right? So he was talking about just going hard for your dreams, and that kind of, inspired me to have this episode. But I've been putting this episode on the back burner, realistically. And he said he worked for like 6 years with no vacation just to get closer to his goals, right? And if you think about it, 6 years is a long time, right? I make a joke with my friends that if anytime instead of saying 4 years, I say a high school, all right? And it's kind of dreadful because it makes you think of how long ago high school was and then how long high school felt. Because if you talk to anybody who's graduated high school, whether they're their first year out, their fourth year out, or however long, high school is a very memorable place for a lot of people. But realistically, it's only 4 years of your life if you had a regular time frame in high school. If you didn't drop out, if you didn't do a victory lap, if you're old enough or young enough, yeah, if you're at that point where you didn't have to do grade 13, high school is only 4 years, right? And if you think about 4 years, the older you get, it's not that long, right? So he was talking about 6 years, and when you get older, time doesn't feel as real as those times, but at the same time, it's crazy how things have passed, right? So he was talking about just going hard for 6 years just to get closer to his goals, and at the same time, he kind of regrets getting his Tesla, but at the same time, he knows that he worked hard to get it, right? So, just the lessons from all the Uber drivers is just, you got to go hard for what you want, right? And what I mean by going hard is staying focused, which I will do an episode on soon, right? But you have to go hard, and you got to have your goal in mind, and whether you're pursuing it little by little each day, right? Chipping away at it, or you're making big plans, or you have to do a disappearing act for a while just so that you could stay focused, then that's what you have to do, right? If your goals are real, if you're ambitious enough to do it, why wait? Because we don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow, right? If someone told you 5 years ago or a high school ago that what happened in 2020 would still be happening and would be happening for years, you laugh at them, right? But it happened, right? You could always say tomorrow, right? But that doesn't mean you're going to get to tomorrow. So start today, Start today so tomorrow will be the day that will be sooner, right? I don't know. I don't know how to phrase that in a better way. I'm sorry, guys. It is what it is, all right? Anyways, I'll see you guys later. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. Please feel free to comment, share the video, let me know what you think, get me some feedback, and I'll catch you in the next episode. See ya.